Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Threw him in my path, and the guy shocked me into waking up. Like, he literally sat next to me. He's my son's best friend's dad. Sat next to me at a basketball game and said, "I've got good news." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "If you drop dead tonight from a heart attack, I watched a guy get resuscitated this morning. I can do CPR on you." Talk about a charm school dropout, right?
Wow.
But would that get your attention?
Yes.
Right? I'm like, okay, Mr. Peaches, right? Come on, right? And all of a sudden I was like, "Excuse me?" So then he goes into the detail. He was playing racquetball that morning and they heard a thud next door. And they hear, "Help, help, help," right? They go and find a paramedic that was off duty, that was in a pickup basketball game on the basketball court. They got the AED machine from the front desk of the gym, of the club, and they patted the guy up and shocked him. Turns out, and they took the guy to the hospital, and he walked out of the hospital 2 days later. True story. Turns out he's 71 years old, not an ounce of fat on him. Mind you, I'm over 400 pounds. I've got 7 chins I'm counting every day, right? I have a 50-inch waist, 50-inch waist, okay? And this guy is my wife's mechanic. It
Wow.
is so close to home, you wouldn't believe it, right? And it was like, okay, there's the one sign I needed, because I've been having this tape in my mind, right? You gotta lose weight, you gotta get better shape, come on now, come on, you got it, right? That did it. I walked out of that gym and started eating less, started eating better. I stopped drinking diet sodas and lost 40 pounds. I mean, okay. And it was this combination of all these angels being thrown in my way. Okay. And since then, I've had an opportunity to tell people my story, and a whole ton of people have lost weight because of it. And a whole ton of people that had type 2 diabetes, which I was diagnosed with, have been able to control it and manage it with diet and exercise. We have angels that are thrown in our path, or gently pushed, whatever. They're in our path, right? And we can either recognize it and embrace it or ignore it. And you're living proof that we need to be listening, we need to be paying attention, and we need to follow. When we're prompted, we need to follow. So you learn how to help people get rid of that identity, to free themselves from those chains of, you're this patient, you're dying, whatever, right? And you show them how to help heal themselves, which is miraculous. I mean, it's amazing what you can help the human body do, right?
Yep.
How long did you do that?
So I worked with her for about 3 years. So I graduated in 2013. And then in 2016, life will take you in different directions. I got different jobs, did different things. I was still studying under her. I was still pursuing my degree in natural health. But in 2016, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was stage 2 or stage 3 breast cancer. And she said, "Jalisa," she said, "if you hadn't made a decision to study natural health," going back to the divine synchronicities, nothing is by mistake, nothing is by happenstance. Every experience that you have in life is for a reason. It's material, it's an experience for the next phase and stage in your life. So for me, she said, "Jalisa, if you weren't studying natural health, I probably would have gotten chemotherapy. I probably would have done the radiation. I probably would have done the surgery." She said, "But because you worked with that naturopathic doctor and are studying natural health, I don't want to do any of that." Said I want to do it the natural way. So, getting to the root cause of things, dealing with emotional challenges, dealing with traumatic experiences from childhood. I worked with her at home, got her, changed our water system, changed our food, took sugar out of her diet, got her on a supplemental program, did some detoxes, and in 4 months, she was cancer free. And for me,
Bless
like
your
you
heart.
said,
Bless
yeah,
your heart. And bless her.
thank you.
I mean, my goodness.
So
I
to
love your
have
mom,
that
and I have it even better.
experience, and to have that experience, it was like, okay, God, I hear you.
Yeah.
You're calling me back to what you're telling me. This healing work, this helping people to really discover their true capabilities of healing and living a limitless life. We settle so much for so many different things in our lives, but we do not have to settle. And that's the reason why the title of my book is It's All in Me, my journey to freedom and living abundantly, because the power that God has given us within ourselves, man, it is undescribable. It is limitless. It is so much greater than anything we can imagine. So to be able to do that for my mom, support my mom with her journey, and see in such a short time a shift and a change in her health, they go. It was so funny. The same way things happened with me when she found out the different diagnosis about my health. The same thing happened with her mammogram. They're doing the mammogram and they're like, we don't see anything. Like, what did you do? Like, what are you doing? We don't see anything. There's no cancer.
Mhm.
And they're like comparing the tests before and this one, and they're like, we don't see anything. So when you trust, when you believe, and when you actually do the work, take the aligned actions, make the shifts, make the changes, and get to the root of things, it changes things.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. So you hit this from all angles. You hit it from the emotional angle. You went back and dealt with trauma. You hit it from every angle, right? Got rid of white sugar. By the way, that's absolutely essential, right? So you got rid of so many of these things and help, got her on a cleanse, all that kind of. You took all the stuff that you had learned and applied it, and your mother healed herself.
Yep.
Pretty cool. So when that happened, and she was told she was cancer free, how in the world did that make you feel?
It made me feel amazing to be able to support my mom, the person that brought me into this world, the reason why I'm here today, to be able to support her in her journey, her healing journey. And it gave me this boost of confidence in my gifts and my abilities for healing and just supporting people and helping people to really live an abundant life.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, you know, you get the messages, you hear from the messengers, and there are those experiences where it just clicks and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah. Well, it all came together, right? And all of a sudden, you now realize what's possible
Yep.
because you just did it with your mom,
Hmm.
with me. And now it's like that had to have given you a level of confidence and a level of certainty about the path you were on, like nothing on the planet would have. Right? That's why that
Absolutely.
happened. And I truly believe that because people are asking all the time, if God's such a good God, why would God allow this to happen? Why would God allow this to happen? And they're bad things. They're rough things. They're things that most people get mad at God about. Right?
Hmm.
The thing is, I tell people all the time, and we've talked about this so many times on this podcast. If you look hard enough at any situation, it doesn't matter what it is. If you look hard enough at any situation, even the most painful, there's good there. And what it is God is preparing you to come alongside somebody in the future and put your arm around them and help them because you've gone through something similar, right? One of these days, one of your friends is going to walk up to you, if they haven't already, and tell you that their mother's been diagnosed with breast cancer. And you're going to be able to say, well, this is what we did. This is how mom felt. This is what we dealt with. There was trauma in her past. We dealt with that. We completely changed the playing field that mom was playing on, right? And we equipped her for success. And she succeeded. How unbelievably awesome is that? Like,
it's miracles.
That's the coolest thing ever. It's the coolest thing ever, right? You're here because your mother had faith. Your mother's here because of you. Not too bad that we just went full circle, right? I'm getting absolute goosebumps right now. Okay. So talk to me about, so that's 2016, right? When did you write the book? Was that last year?
I wrote the book in 2018.
Okay. What made you write the book? Was it mom?
The book in 2018, the book was 10 years in the making. So
How old were you at 2018?
2018, I'm 33. Math is not my thing.
All right. You're in your 20s, late
Yeah.
20s, right? Here's the thing. It was our mid 20s. It was actually 25 years in the making.
Yeah,
So I'm
right.
just gonna throw this out here, okay? From the time you could write, you've been writing in your journals, and you've literally been writing that book that's behind you since you could write.
You're right. You're
You've been
absolutely
preparing
right.
yourself for this all your life.
Yeah. So going back, my childhood, very tumultuous, very traumatic. My dad had his ways, different, women, different addictions, different vices. And I was exposed to so many different things that my parents were unaware of. I was sexually abused by my biological sister. Nobody knew about it. But what we didn't realize was that my sister was being sexually abused by one of our aunts and her god sister. My mom did everything that she could to protect us from the men in the family because she was sexually abused by one of her uncles. So she was thinking that it was going to be the men. It was a generational curse that she tried to keep us from. And writing was my therapy. Writing was my way to deal with it and still be able to function and still be able to show up and serve in church, still be able to show up in school and get straight A's. And it took me until I was 20 to ever tell anybody about it. Nobody knew, but when you have traumatic experiences, you act out. Yeah. So I did the drinking, I did, smoking the weed, I, was very promiscuous, doing all these different things. And that led to more traumatic experiences because between the ages of 13 and 18, I was raped 3 times. And each time it was by multiple men. And that led me to just feel useless. It led me to feel worthless. It led me to feel like I no longer wanted to live. It was like, I just want the pain to stop. Yeah. I had suicidal ideations, but I knew that if I killed myself, that where I was going to go. So I would literally lay in my bed and just pray like, God, just take my life. I don't want to be here anymore. Mm-hmm. Why are you putting me through all of this stuff, all of these things? I'm in so much pain. I don't want to live. And what I realized, like you said, there are traumatic experiences. There are things that happen. But the message that God gave me was that you are a masterpiece. Your life is a masterpiece. And the thing about masterpieces, they require some mess. And that was the mess that I experienced, the messy experiences that I had. But had I not had those experiences, I wouldn't have written my book for other people to be free and understand that I was the one to break the generational curse in my family because I opened my mouth. Mm-hmm. You cannot heal a wound that you keep covered. So by uncovering it, by opening my mouth, I took that power away from the enemy. He could no longer hold that curse over my family.
That is his power. That is his power. His
Mhm.
power is we suffer in silence. And when we
Mhm.
suffer in silence, we give him more ammunition,
Yep.
right? Because what's going on inside of you is all this hurt. And then
Mhm.
all this hurt festers and it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. And what happens is this pain causes you to then go out and do things that are not good for you,
Yep.
right? Because you're trying to ease the pain.
Mhm.
It's a spiral and you're spiraling downward, right? When what you're trying to do is you're trying to mitigate the pain. You're trying to mitigate the trauma. What really does it is talking about it. So what we talked about earlier in the podcast, right? What happens is when people actually get it out, they physically, visibly sit back and go, oh, you can see it. You can see that load just release.
Yep.
Their shoulders drop. They're right. You've
Yep.
seen it, haven't you? And you've
Mhm.
experienced it
Over
when
and
you were
over.
20, right? It's not easy to get it out, but once it's out, it's like, oh, I feel better now. I mean, yeah, you're right. And it's like,
Yep.
now we can deal with it. It's like the Bible says, when you say it, it's real, right? When you say it, it's real. Until you say it, it just sits there and churns. I mean, it's real, but it's real to you, right? And it's just festering and getting worse and worse and worse. And it motivates you to use drugs. It motivates you to drink. It motivates you to do all
Mhm.
these things because you're trying to self-medicate. You're trying to, and by the way, sex is that way too. Sex is self-medication.
Mhm.
That's all part of it, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like, and it gets you in situations where you're vulnerable and horrible things happen to you because you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable because of all this, right? I mean, it's all cause and effect.
Yep.
Wow.
And having those experiences, like I said, I was always able to live a double life. I was still able to go to school, get my good grades, but thankfully, well, fortunately and unfortunately, I had a friend that I met who was the first person I had ever told what happened to me. And he actually picked me up after one of the incidents on campus, when I was assaulted. And had I not made that connection with him, had I not felt safe enough with him to be able to open up and share, I wouldn't have written my book.
Yeah.
My family would still be in bondage.
Yeah.
I would still be searching for things to cover and mask the pain instead of being free, instead of living a free and abundant life. I would still be in bondage. I would still be in fear. I would still be constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next traumatic experience to happen.
Yeah. True.
And because he was there, he was, my friend, he was supportive. And sometimes you find relationships where you think that they're lifetime friendships, but they're really only supposed to be in your life for that moment. As I said in the beginning, I'm a lover. If I say that I love you, if I say that you're my friend, I want you to be in my life for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he turned out to be one of my abusers.
Oh no.
I was 17 when I graduated from college. And I was originally going to take a gap year, go travel to Spain to just study Spanish because again, I love Spanish. But things didn't work out financially. So my aunt, she said, you know what, let's go look at a school. Let's go look at a school in Baltimore. I'm like, I don't know this area. I don't know this school. I hadn't put any applications in because my intention was to go to Spain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to the school. And when I get there, it's like I just felt like I was home, like I was supposed to be there. But again, if I had not listened, I wouldn't have had that experience of connecting with that friend who turned out to be an enemy. But the good and the bad, there are positive and negative experiences with everything. So being able to share that with him helped me to get free from that experience, helped me to get free from that pain so that I could move forward, so that I could share my story with other people. I literally still have letters of students that I talked to, that I shared my story to, that said, man, I had never told anyone this happened to me. It was my uncle, it was my father, it was my brother, it was this. I had never been able to tell anybody this until you shared your story.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was meant for me to be there. I knew that it was meant for me to share my story, my experiences. But you gotta have discernment when it comes to when to let something go, when to let a person go.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's so true. Okay, so question for you. There are people that are listening to this interview. By the way, thank you again for doing this. There are people that are listening to this interview that are thinking about writing a book. They've actually been thinking about writing a book for a while. What was the one thing that made you do this? What was the one thing that just, that's it, I'm doing it?
So 2017, I saw this post that I had wrote 10 years prior. Said I'm gonna be an author. Like this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be an author. And Facebook shows you your memories, and it was 10 years prior. And I'm like, oh, I did say that I was gonna do that. And I just kept getting messages, literally random people that never met me, like, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. You need to write a book. You need to share your story. You need to share your story. And I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I've never, I've journaled, but
Mhm.
I've never published a book. So literally every single step of the way, I just trusted God. I said, okay, God, what's next? Okay, God, what's next? And he would literally provide for me every single thing. The cover of my book, I
Mhm.
just so happened to go for a walk. God said, go for a walk, take your journal, go write. I said, okay. I went and sat on this bench, and a guy came and he was like, oh, you're journaling. I don't want to disturb you. I said, no, it's fine. He said, well, I'll come back later. So 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes later, he comes back. He's like, I feel like I need to talk to you.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay. He's like, we get to talking, we're sharing, our experiences, our stories. He says, I'm a graphic designer and I want to design the cover of your book for free. We need to get your story told to the masses. And everything that I needed for my book came together that exact way.
Mhm.
And it took me 20 days. I sat down an hour a day for 20 days and I wrote over 170 pages of my story.
I hope people are listening to this. I hope they're listening to this, because what you just shared is absolutely invaluable. That's some of the best life advice anybody's ever going to get. I hope they're listening to this. Okay, one last question. What was the number one thing you learned writing the book?
The number one thing that I learned writing the book was that if I stay connected to God and myself, everything is going to work out.
If you
It
listen,
might,
if you
it
listen,
might,
right?
hmm
Stay
if you
open.
listen,
Listen. Yeah.
stay open, be obedient, pay attention, because God is constantly speaking. God is constantly sending signs. He's constantly sending messages. And sometimes when you're hard at it, you'll have to, you know, send it a few times over and over again.
Yeah.
But if you stay connected to God, stay connected to yourself, everything is going to work out. Just take it one step at a time. Don't overthink, don't overwhelm yourself, don't overdo it. Just take it one step at a time. And God literally works everything out.
And don't discount it, right? Don't hear it and then go, oh no.
Hmm.
Right? If you hear it, you need to obey it.
Yes,
You're living proof of this.
absolutely.
From even before you were born, you're living proof of this. You're God's miracle. This is so cool. This is so cool. Do me a favor, give your mom a hug and a kiss for me, okay?
I will.
Tell her I love her and I haven't even met her. Completely in love with this woman. I cannot thank you enough for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been an unbelievable time. It flew by. I can't believe
It did.
unbelievable. But I had more fun in this interview than I've had in a long time. And I thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mike, for having me. This was a complete blast. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share my story on this platform, and I'm looking forward to hearing people's responses.
I'm grateful for you. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.